Hey everyone! Well, the purpose of this video is to look at some CCTV cameras. There's a lot of people out there that say you can get great results from a cheap DVR if you just replace the cameras and put in something nice. Well, I wanted to look at lower price range cameras because, let's admit it, we can't all afford to go out and buy $200 cameras to attach to a DVR. So I happen to have a really cheap DVR here at home. It's a Zmodo 4 channel. I think I got it from Woot, and resolution is 720 by 240 at 30 frames per second, and it's definitely one of the cheapest DVRs you can get. I got mine without a hard drive. I think it only costs about $150. So the cameras that came with it are this one. This is the Zmodo. They've changed their cameras now, and I don't know about the new ones. They look a little bit nicer, but so this is the camera that comes with the DVR. This camera, it's got a 1/4" color CMOS image sensor. It's 420 TV lines horizontal, and it's got a 3.6mm lens. It's got 12 infrared IR LEDs for night vision. And our second camera, this one came out of a more expensive Swan DVR. It's really similar form factor to the first Zmodo. This one has a 1/3" color CCD Swan True Colors sensor. It's 600 TV lines, and it's got a 4.8mm lens, and I think it's got 24 IR LEDs. And then we have this one. I should mention the Swan is $119 for two, so it's about $60 each. If you want to replace these, you can't really get just the Zmodo camera anymore, but this one will run you about $50 if you can find it on eBay. Now this one has great reviews on Amazon. And the problem with the reviews are, when you're reading through them, they'll use words like, this camera has great color representation, this color is really clear, this color really looked a lot better. But I think the issue is, people are comparing the cameras to the cameras that come with their DVR, and these things are notoriously bad. They just put out an image that is almost unusable. I mean, you can see people moving around, but as far as license plates or even identifying people walking, it's almost impossible. So to get an honest opinion, you can't really read the reviews unless you know what the people are comparing it to, and most people are comparing it to what came with their DVR. And there's a reason why they give these away with the DVR. I mean, $150 DVR, I got 4 of these. So this next one, this one has really good reviews on Amazon. This is 700 TV lines. It's got a 1/4" Aptina, made in USA, CCD USA sensor. It's a 3.6mm lens, and it's got 2 high output IR LEDs, which is just really big IR LEDs instead of the cluster like the other ones have. And this one runs you about $40. Very good price, and we're going to see how it holds up, because this one would be a good candidate for replacement for your standard cameras that come. And the next one is another one that has fairly good reviews on Amazon. This one's by VideoSecU. This one also runs you $39.99, so it's the same price as the EverTech that we got right here. This one is a 1/4" color Sony CCD image sensor. It's 420 TV lines, horizontal resolution. It's got a 3.6mm lens, and it's got 24 IR LEDs. So we're going to look at all these together, and the thing is, when you're comparing these, you never get to see CCTV cameras aimed at the same subject, because when you see the image examples of them, they're mounted normally in place, and they're showing a room. And there's nothing for you to use as a guidepost for what kind of colors you're looking at and what you're, how to compare them equally. So that's what we set out to do. Later on, we're gonna show all 4 of the images in a quadrant, and you can see each one side by side and actually see how these things do. What we're going to use is, since the biggest problem is they're normally aimed in just random, this is a street scene, this is an office scene, we're going to use a color calibration chart, like you'd use for calibrating a printer or calibrating a digital camera, and I'll put it up on screen. There'll be a link in the article where you can go download this. It's free, and it works really well. You can use it for a lot of different things. So these are our cameras we're going to use, and next we're going to go to the individual camera results. Alright, first you can look at the actual calibration chart straight from the digital file. You can see the clear, vibrant colors on it. You can see the gradient as the font gets smaller, and the color at the bottom. You can see the portrait of the lady, and then some of the detail in both of the scenes on the left hand side. So now next we're going to go over to the Zmodo camera. This is the Zmodo camera. This was shot in full daylight, and as you can see, the colors are very dull. You can see that the resolution, which we expect, it's a CCTV camera, is not very good. But you can also just see that the infrared light really that it absorbs really just drowns out those colors and makes them really, really dull. Okay, next we move on to our outdoor scene for the Zmodo camera. As you can see, again, the infrared light that's coming in is just atrocious. All the greens are washed out. They all look white. The sky is managing to be nice and blue there, aquamarine. But just in general, it's a poor quality picture. You can really see that the resolution is suffering. All of these are shot at D1 resolution at 30 frames per second. They're all exactly the same. So this is the kind of quality that you're going to get with the type of camera that comes directly with one of the cheaper DVRs. Next up, we have the Swan camera that came with the Swan DVRs. These are the ones that run about $60 a piece. As you can see, the color is really good, and the resolution looks really nice compared to the other cameras. This one has 600 TV lines, and it's in the higher end of the cameras we were testing today. The only other one was the 700 TV lines for the Evertech. This camera is the only one that has a 1/3 inch CCD sensor, so it's a bit bigger of a sensor, and you can see that it looks nice on the poster. You can really see the colors pop, and even with the scene up in the upper left, you can see more of it. And as we go over to the outdoor scene, now here's the problem. This looks awful, and the colors aren't right, and there's some bleeding of the colors in the leaves, and we just saw some really weird artifacts when it came to this camera. It's almost like something switched inside of it and told it that it was nighttime, even though it was in full day. I know you see the shadow of the tree in front of us, but we're actually standing in full light, holding it out towards the scene. And what we can do is we can bring up right before that video. There was just a second where the Swan showed the green colors that you would expect. The colors are still bleeding over in the leaves, but it's much more accurate, and it's just interesting. It's almost like the camera thought that it was nighttime. This is the Evertech camera on the color calibration poster. This was really surprising because it got such great reviews on Amazon, and I saw total different results when I had it in the garage and actually mounted, and it really surprised me. And I started looking at it, and I started wondering if we were seeing something similar to what happened with that Swan camera, that perhaps the camera itself had thought the scene was a little darker, or that it needed to accept more infrared light. And as I can bring up here of a picture that we had of it just sitting on the porch as it was aimed at the shed, you can see the colors are much better, and much better than when it was close up to that calibration poster, which leads me to believe that there's some circuitry in there that's changing how it's accepting the light. We can also look at the outdoor scene, and you can see out of all the cameras, the Evertech on the outdoor scenes, the greens are green. They're almost oversaturated, but the sky looks correct. The resolution is good. You can see the creek, which is actually a little brown because we had a lot of rain, and it's really a nice camera. So it's interesting that both of these cameras had this artifact where they switched over and started getting poor resolution, almost like that they were going into a night vision type mode where they're accepting more IR light. Next up, we have the Video Secu, which I told you got pretty good reviews on Amazon. As you can see in this, the colors are much better. They're far more accurate. You can see in the scene with the lake that there's actually some green in there. You can see with the lady's shirt that there's actually colors in there. And just in the color chart, you can see that you can actually differentiate the different colors. You can tell you're getting a lot less infrared light coming in, and you can actually manage to see what the scene looks like. I mean, it's a far cry better. And for $39.99 per camera, it's not bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the video secu of the outdoor scene. Now this one, again, this one looks okay, and you can see that the resolution's better and the colors are truer. We have the sky, which is more realistic of what the sky looked that day. You also have the trees are showing actual green and not white, and you're not getting near as much infrared light that's leaking into the camera. The infrared light, it really helps with night vision and to be able to see, but it's just not what you're going to expect for the daytime when you really want to see, you know, the scene and how it looks. For me, this was the big payoff of the whole experiment. You get to see 4 cameras that are all reasonably priced, they're right next to each other, and they're aimed at the exact same thing. They all show a color chart that you can look at with a digital file. You can see what the colors are supposed to look like, and you can compare them side by side. And you're never going to see that in a review because it's just too difficult, and it's actually quite time consuming to set this up and sit here and record the same thing. So in the bottom left we have the Zmodo, and like we said, that's the one that came with the DVR. Very inexpensive. It does the job. You can see what's on the screen, but it's not going to be clear. It's not going to be accurate color, and there you get what you pay for. In the upper left we have the Swan that came with it was the most expensive camera. It came with a much more expensive DVR, and it does a really nice job. It's really it's really representing the colors well and the clarity well. You can see that the extra lines of resolution seem to be showing through. In the upper right we have the EverTech, which, like we said earlier, that color on this particular picture isn't quite accurate. It really looks like it decided to change into a different mode where it was accepting more IR light, and we'll see in the other outdoor scene that it's totally different results. And then in the bottom right is that video secu, which also got really good reviews on Amazon, and it's only $40. And as you can see, it also looks really good, especially for the price. Here we have all the cameras side by side in our outdoor scene, so you can compare them. You can see in the bottom left that the Zmodo camera almost looks like a winter scene. I don't know if it's blocking any infrared light into the lens. It's just horrible color contrast, and that's what we're seeing when it's actually in place. And that's just, you get what you pay for when it comes to those free cameras with the DVR. In the upper left you see the really surprising Swan camera. When we go to the poster scene, it was the clearest, and it really did a nice job of representing those colors. I did show you that in the first couple frames of that scene the clarity still wasn't there, but the color representation was at least a lot better. The upper right is the EverTech, which this is far better than what it looked like on that poster, and I said that we would note that later on, that it looks nice. It still looks a little soft. It doesn't look very clear, but at least the color representation is there. And then in the bottom right is the video secu, and this one's the $40 camera, and I have to say it's my favorite. You can really see the leaves. You can see better contrast in that camera than any of the other cameras on this quadrant. The colors look accurate. It doesn't look oversaturated. Alright, well, I'll leave you with a side-by-side of the video secu. It's the winner out of this little competition in my book. I had a lot of fun testing out these cameras, and it was just something I always wanted to do. I wanted to see exactly what each camera looked like, and obviously never be able to test them all, and there's a lot higher dollar equipment that I could be testing. But anyway, I hope you found it enjoyable, and I'll see you guys next time.